I'm Elaine Osborne, and I am an instructional coach and department chair at a middle school in Frisco, Texas. And I'm also a UNCO doctoral student in my third year.
And I'm Colleen Kugler. I'm an in-home parent trainer for Frisco ISD, one of three. We have three in our district. And I've been doing in-home parent training for 10 years. And I was a classroom teacher for 14 years before that.
And prior to being an instructional coach, I worked with kiddos with significant support needs for 6 years. Got a lot of training from Millie Smith and a lot of evidence-based practices, Lily Nelson, and so did you?
Yeah.
So our district is Frisco, which is used to be a very small town until about until that's I think 1991. And as you can see, our school started out. I think we had maybe 1,000 students in 1991, and we now that's old data. We have just at 60,000 students now in a matter of, and most of those have come in the last 10 years. So we've seen really rapid growth, and along with that, across populations. So our special education population has grown too. Our demographics are pretty diverse. We are a suburb of Dallas, and so with that growth came from Toyota and from businesses coming in, and so we have people, we're very lucky to have people from all over the world. We have, I think at one school we have 27 languages spoken, and our special education population is about 6 to 10%, which is a little lower, but it's nationwide. We do a lot of RTI. We have kiddos that are on 504 plans, and so when we're talking about special education, those are kids strictly served by IDEA. And we have multiple programmings that serve the kids' needs. Active learning is the population that are the students with significant support needs. All over the nation, this group population of kids is called something different. It's multiple and severe disabilities, it's low incidence disabilities, it's profound and severe. I mean, you hear all kinds of titles and labels, but it's our students that are typically 0 to 2 years of age cognitively, multiple physical impairments, and usually lots of G-tubes, medically fragile, and they're the kiddos that kind of stump a lot of teachers as to what to do with these kids.
Interesting little background. When I started in the district, way before that huge growth boom, I was teaching in a class that was called a life skills class, but I had kids that are in the active learning classrooms now, and we have a special class called the SLC for kids with autism that are working on language skills, and I had them all in one class together. And then as we grew, we had to start expanding, and then we started having the different classrooms for the different kids. So,
absolutely. So this just is a little bit of our active learning, how the numbers have gone up. Our motto at Frisco is know each child by name and need. And that is awesome, and that is good. But we were realizing that we kind of needed, at least in the special education, and definitely for active learners, that we needed to meet those needs. I was in a class at UNC a couple years ago, and we had a project that we had to do, a logic model, and we had to identify a problem. And one of the problems at the time, I was an active learning classroom teacher, and one of the problems that really bugged me is, what are these kids doing after they graduate from high school? We keep them until they're 22, but they're really not doing anything in those 4 years after graduation other than what they've been doing the entire time, which is functional skills, or touch the box, or put the thing in the thing, all these things that are really not preparing them for continued community involvement and continued learning. And their parents are like, what? We have no idea what we're doing now. You've given us our child that we love very much, but we don't know how to support them in secondary. So that's kind of where this logic model evolved, how to create a transition plan for these students. And like we were saying, this transition plan can be adapted for all of our students. It really is student-centered and team-based. So this is the logic model. You guys have a copy of this. And you can't read that, so we broke it down into what you can read. The most important thing about this is not going to be this. What you have is, that's why you have a blank one also, is that you modify it to your campuses, your district's needs. because everyone's going to be a little bit different. Your goals are going to be different. But you need to start with a goal. You need to start with an end in mind. Backward chain. Like, what do you want that student doing? You want them to be involved in the community. You want them to have a job. You want them to have continued learning, to continue in environments that they're still learning. You want their parents to be supported. So each of the stakeholders, and all of this, just to kind of backtrack a little bit, this planning begins for the child in early childhood, or as soon as identification of the student occurs, or that child moves into your district.
Yeah, a big situation we came across, and it was reoccurring, where kids were getting into middle school and high school, and their parents hadn't put them on our state list. We have the poster, we kind of talked about that a little bit before. And that our waiting lists are so long that it takes like 10, 12, 15 years for families or a child's name to come up and for them to receive services from the state. So we realized we had a big issue where we can't be telling parents about this and educating them about this in middle school. That's way too late. We need to do it at early childhood. And we need to give the parents the training and make sure that we keep addressing it, because it's one thing to tell a family, make this phone call, but there has to be some follow-up, because a lot of times they're busy, they got a lot going on, so they just tuck that phone number, that piece of paper under all their other papers, and it doesn't get done. So we realized we've got to get them in early childhood school, and we've got to kind of follow up and follow them through. And make sure that those parents are getting that education at that early age. And that's with all levels, that they're always feeling supported and always getting.
What are the parents doing who get on these lists for 10 and 12 years and don't get service? What do they do in the interim?
But you mean on the wait list while they're
Yeah.
they're going through the school. So
Yeah.
hopefully if we get them on their list when these children are 3 and 4 years old, by the time they graduate, or by the time they are ready to enter those, they are at the top of that list. And so then you have a seamless transition from your really basically entitled environment of the school, because under IDA, you're entitled to a free appropriate education, you're entitled to all these supports. Once you graduate from high school, you're no longer entitled to these school-supported supports.
But if there is a gap and they don't get the service.
That is
what do they
Out of
do?
pocket.
It's out of pocket.
Insurance.
But a lot of this plan kind of addresses that along the way, because hopefully and we'll get into this a little bit more as far as like teacher and parent trainings and legal and financial trainings early on to help parents prepare for that time when there might be a gap. You know, they need to have planned for a financial planner, because our students are living longer and longer and longer. And the medical model no longer really applies, that the doctor said, your child won't live past, the high school years. Well, we're not seeing that anymore. We're seeing that our kids are living.
We have a student who, her mom said they told her daughter would live past 2. She has a degenerative brain disorder where her brain just deteriorates over the years.
Mhm.
And she's like now 17 in our school, and they told her she would live beyond 2. So we're assuming she'll be living to 21. She seems fine.
Mhm.
And then, they'll have to know what they're going to do with it.
Absolutely,
But
and
her
that's-
brain has totally deteriorated and is continuing to do so.
Mhm.
And she needs even more services
Exactly.
and respite, and yeah.
Yes.
At the early age, so at that early childhood, beginning of elementary school, my experience is a lot of families are in denial.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah.
So what is the plan?
Okay, so that's what we're going to go through this so that we all get on that page, because these are great questions and they're exactly the questions that we had when we were working through this. So you want your goals, and some of this is that parents have coordinated instruction in the home environment. They have already got these supports set up. All of this team is beginning an outside agency. So you'll see that every stakeholder is represented: the students, the school, the parent, and the outside agencies. And that is the students' team. And with the school comes the related services too: the PT, the OT, the speech, O&M, BI, all of those things. So after you have the goals, you want your child, you want your parents to be all on those lists. You want those agencies to have a projection of students that are coming up. You want the agencies to be involved with the students and already ready for that student to fly once they graduate. Those are our goals. How do we get to those goals? We have now next our strategies on how to get to those goals. And those are, a lot of them are for the students, and the students, you are kind of assuming you're taking their voice, but you're also keeping them at because they cannot necessarily all times tell you, I want to have a job when I grow up, especially at a 3-year-old age and a 4-year-old age. These are our expectations of the student. And the school personnel that we're having targeted professional development, the parents that we're having continuous in-home parent trainings throughout that 12-year period. So the in-home parent trainer, and the related services, you've developed a team for this child that follows them along their years. So in having that team, you're continually reminding the parent and you're supporting the parent. And you have to be gentle with the parent because at 3 years old, they may be in denial. They often are in denial. We have an early childhood school that is huge. And so we deal with a lot of parents that are in denial that my kid will get bigger, they'll get better, they'll get, this will go away. And it's that constant, we're a team, we're supportive, get on the list. We're a team, we're supportive, we're gonna do this, get on the list. That type of,
And right now, as in-home parent trainers, how we kind of follow our students, and there has to be some, it's difficult if you have a lot of turnover with positions. Well, our benefit is that there's 3 of us, like I said, and we've been doing it for many years. I've been 10 years, my one colleague is 9 years, and the other one I think is up to 6 years. So we're actually starting in with the kids, a lot of them at early childhood, and now I have ones that are transitioning to high school now. So the families, they take as much support as they need from me. And then, sometimes I'll just get a call once a year, or I'll just get a call at that big transition period where they have questions and they need some more information, and I'll check in on them, and I'll check in on the kids in the classrooms, and I'll connect with the teachers and let the teachers know about them when they transition. So it doesn't have to be like strong, in-your-face support, I'm in your home, because a lot of parents don't want that. A lot of parents just want somebody who knows them and knows their child, so it's not as overwhelming as it sounds when you hear that the parent trainers are following them. Yes?
For those home and community-based services in your state for that wait list, is that lifetime services once they qualify?
once they're in the list, yes.
Yep.
And as you see, Texas is in Florida, and whatever that is, and Ohio has a really long wait list, so it just reinforces the fact. But yes, once they get on them, then it's a lifetime. And Medicaid as well. Students can get on Medicaid immediately, but there's a process to get on Medicaid, so walking them through that process, walking them through all the ins and outs and the governmental hoopla. And that is changing right now. We don't know exactly how that's gonna look in the future, but just keeping the parents informed. I had a parent the other day whose child's in high school and just qualified for Medicaid because they are immigrant and just became naturalized citizens, and the mom was trying to work through her whole Medicaid thing. And so it's very complicated. I needed to call somebody to say, hey, can you help her through this whole list, this whole transition thing.
Guardianship. I just had a mom come to me, and I actually ran into her at a school, and she was like, okay, and her son's a sophomore in high school, and she's like, guardianship, I heard I have to do it 2 years before he's 18, and I'm like, no, actually it's 6 months. You can't even start it before 6 months. So those little things that just make parents feel that much more confident. Okay, I'm doing the right thing, I'm in the right place, and it helps overall.
Yeah.
So, but it's
All
that information.
Guardianship, so they can't even start it till 6 months before they're 18.
Mhm.
Right.
The process.
But parents should be aware of it, because the parents, there are things that you need to do, and there are discussions that need to be had. Because if you have a student that is, these significant support needs students, obviously you want to get in life skills kids, but there are some kids that are kind of on that bubble, it's like, are they gonna be, we need to have those conversations. We need to make sure that we fully, because our students with learning disabilities, not necessarily specific LD, will want to be their own guardian, so when you expand this further, these teams need to look at that kind of thing, and then figure out how to teach that student.
And the fact that it's a team, because everybody's not going to know all the information. The classroom teacher's not necessarily going to know about trusts and guardianship and all of that information. But if there's a team, then they can go to somebody else, and that somebody else can inform them and let them know, as long as there's a wraparound and everybody's talking to everybody.
And that comes in the strategic plan, which is coming here in just a second. The next part of our logic model are the inputs. And this is going to vary from district to district, campus to campus. school to school. What is it that you need to put in to this to make it successful? You're going to have the evidence-based, the trainings, the professional trainings that are supported and continuous are a must. You can't just have one training teaching a teacher how to do hand under hand and how to do routine and then drop it. You need to go back into those and meet again and collaborate and have these, and that is tough. It is hard because the master schedule doesn't work, or teachers have to take time and be creative. But those things are really important to sustain the knowledge that you're getting from professional developments. Then also, are you going to have a consultant? We had Millie, so we would have to put that into the inputs. That's her cost, her fee. Are we going to make overarching policies? That would be an input too that the district is going to embrace. This is going to be a shared vision, and so how are we going to get everybody's buy-in to this? Are we going to make a policy? Are we going to do partnerships? Really thinking through those nitty-gritty little pieces. Grant funding. I'm going to be writing a grant. We're going to be writing a grant this spring for additional funding for this program. Your stage programs and your PTAs are really good places, but those are, again, your inputs. Where are you going to get, if you need money to buy binders for, which we'll talk about in a second, binders for parents. If you need money to buy calendar boxes or schedules for the parents or where is that money coming from?
And one of our big support systems that we started in the early childhood school, it's a Parent Sanctuary and Lending Library, and we have over 1,000 items in there, and we started about 3 years ago, so not a lot of time was put into it. It's run by volunteers. We do everything with no money. Run by volunteers. We started, we got book donations. We got books through grants. We get books through books of materials. We have sensory materials, tons of things for parents to check out for 2 weeks. And it's in the early childhood school, but it's open to all parents. So parents kind of get used to going to it at that level, and then they come back. So we have parents coming in who have high schoolers and different ages. But just so you know, we did it with no money. And it was just little me and my colleagues, and we just got some parents really excited about it and started out of with nothing. But our own books. So
exactly.
You can do things like this with with no money.
A lot of times, the community really wants to help. They just don't know how to help.
Yeah.
So if you reach out to restaurants or to dentist offices or to doctors or to anybody in your community, and you begin to raise this awareness, and it may sound a little cold, and it does, and I always kind of cringe when I think this and say this, but you know what? It's great marketing for them. To be, tell me something good we have in Dallas, which is a news program which highlights things that the communities are doing, or our little blurbs in the papers that, hey, somebody sponsored, whatever for special needs students, or it really, and plus that they just want to do it out of the goodness of their heart.
It makes them feel good. It's a gift for them.
It is, but we just need to communicate what they can be doing for our
Parents want to be a part of it. It makes them a part of the school community. The parents that we have as volunteers come on Mondays and Wednesdays, and they split shifts, and they're there to take in those parents whose kids are just identified and who may come in like in that haze. They've been there. They get it. So they're there to answer questions and help them, and and they're so happy, and it enriches their own lives and makes them feel so good about helping other parents.
Yeah,
so
parent
utilize
advocates.
the parents.
Absolutely. Okay, so then we go to our outputs. Those are those things that are telling you concretely that you are seeing success, or you are seeing something from all of your efforts. They're just not you're not just randomly doing things and not seeing that there's data behind it. So that would be your IEP reports, your professional development logs and continuing support logs, your, for the teacher, for the parents, the training logs.
Yep, and we have a binder that we're working on. Ideally, we would love every single parent in our district to walk into their IEP, their ARD meetings with one of these, so that it has a little outline of their child, what's important to and for their child, a picture of their child, and it's put up in the IEP meeting right there, so everybody can be child-centered, and the parent feels empowered because they're organized. It's so hard to organize all of those, pieces that go along with raising a child with special needs. So we put together a binder, and we have this available for parents to come into the Parent Sanctuary and Lending Library and make one. And we'll be working at the early childhood school level with parents individually, so they start out with one and they just keep updating it through the years. And we've had a few parents start this recently, and everybody in our committee loved it. They had extra copies of this piece so that they were able to hand it out to everyone, so everyone would get to know the child. Great for transition meetings, just great for everything. We're going to pass it around so you can look at it, but it includes the child information, goals, all their documentation, any kinds of logs, any phone call notes. And I recently heard in one of the trainings, they said no parent should show up to their meeting without something in their hand.
Yes.
Perfect thing for them to take with them to the meeting so they can take notes and have something to share with everyone there. So we're going to pass this around.
And this is something that, because what we're talking about is an overarching, a district policy change thing, but there are things that the teachers can do, and this is one of them, with their parents to bridge that school to classroom. This is something that does not need district approval or a big rollout or anything like this. This is something that is hands-on, that your parents will really, we've done it with ours, and our parents have been just like, wow, this is, they have got so much going on in their lives that sometimes that this is not what they're thinking of. They're not thinking about putting all the information about my student, and when that parent trainer comes, they're not thinking about writing down what they've been suggestions that have been made for them.
There's one parent that I just worked on one with, and she's actually a diagnostician at our early childhood school, and her son has special needs. He's in high school now.
He's going to be a senior.
And I showed it to her, and she was almost in tears. She's like, oh my gosh, I have all this paperwork piled on my desk, and it was my goal to kind of go through and try to organize it, and I didn't even know where to start. So I made all the different sections for her, and she was able to just go home and put all of that right in there. So even a professional who does it every day didn't feel like she had the organization for her own child, and that happens. We get caught up, and if you have it all in one good place, it's so much better for everyone.
If this parent leaves the district, because we know our kids go, they travel, we have transient students, and everybody's moving, and so they can take this with them, and so they go to their next district, and they can advocate for their child, and they say, hey, I know that this is possible, and here's my child. Yeah.
And one section that I love in there that parents can or don't have to, but I would love if they would all put it in there, is home goals.
Mm-hmm.
Things that they're going to work on at home. Things that they can bridge from school to home, and that's something we're going to talk a lot more about. But if they have home goals in there, how awesome is that for a teacher to see what the parents are working on at home and to know they're trying to bridge all of those activities.
And those are the things that they're going to need to be doing after they graduate. They're going to need to be carrying these things on, so the parents have got to,
You can finish your sentence. I just have a
so
question.
the parents have got to know what's going on at school and be reinforcing these skills. And there are so many things that they can be doing at home that parents don't think about. We've had, we have an amazing teacher who, you want to tell the story, you tell it really well.
Well, we did a group parent training, which we'll talk more about later, but we did a group parent training, and she brought all these materials to show the families what is done at school and what they could do at home. So she had all of these cooking utensils and bowls, and she showed the parents just them going up to the child and taking, the different materials and making the noises of the materials and doing hand underhand with the cooking activities. And you saw all the parents, we videotaped it. That one is not on our website, but we're going to have her do it. We're going to videotape her with that presentation. That was our first one we did. But you saw the parents all went, oh my gosh, that's something I do every night when I cook dinner. I can involve my child in cooking. Never thought about that.
Absolutely.
It's so cool.
At every level too, because if you have a student who can stir, it takes a little extra time, but have your student stir something. Have your student put the fork or knife or spoon or set the table, or, at any level, get them involved. It may be a little bit longer, but in the end, it's going to reinforce.
So I haven't seen the binder yet, but I guess is there also a way to add, and maybe it's already in there, kind of like a to-do checklist for different age increments? So if at 5 years old, you should be contacting the waiver list.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And have that
Do that.
kind of put into the parents, and I kind of link it back to the coordinated services once you reach transition age, where we have this whole list of things that students are supposed to be able to do. Do we bring that even down to the elementary grades? And this way, if we incorporate it in the binder, and go, okay, this coordinated set of activities, practice cooking skills at home with parents, do this, and oh, by the way, don't forget to register for the waiver list.
Yes,
or whatever.
yeah, another
Excellent.
reminder for the waivers. That's a great idea. We're
Yeah.
gonna incorporate that. This is Andrea Sue. I had worked with her at Frisco, and then she went on to OU, and she's a doc student. She's into her transition is her baby, and so amazing lady. So thank you very much. So I'm gonna go on because we're running a little out of time. You guys, this is on the website. You can download this. I don't want to just read every single thing. And then our outcomes, what was it that should tie directly back to our goals? Or do we have increased quality of life? Are we on those community lists? Are we receiving those community services? The parent caregiver thing there, the first one, is to me one of the most critical ones, that the parents realize the potential of their child. Because so many times, I had a student that came in fact, he's the student I'm just going to tell on her because she laughs at the story. The kiddo that's on your, Brandon, who's on the front of that, who we're going to see a video of, he came to my classroom in middle school. I'm a middle school active learning teacher. And parents, he had the elbow destabilizers, or those horrible things are called. And, just parents did the best they could. They loved him with all their hearts and souls. But he had been just being made happy. He was the happiest kid I think I'd ever met, and a wonderful kid. And so one of the goals that I did for him is that he was going to hold his spoon and bring it to his mouth. And Mom laughed at me in the IP and told me to knock myself out. And the next year she was crying in the yard because that child was bringing the spoon to his mouth. I know, I'm going to get going. And over the progression of the 3 years, the student has, multiple disabilities, CP. I mean, his arms, you'll see which way, and just, so by the 3 years, he was bringing the spoon to his mouth with a little bit of elbow support, but he was scooping and putting it to his mouth. And so, and now these parents have expectations to the moon for their kid. They expect, I kind of feel bad for the high school teacher because they were like, well, no, but it's a continuum, and that's what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be advocating and have those really high expectations for their kids. Okay, so we've got a lot more. So how do we do this? You guys have got a copy of this as well, and a blank one too, so you can make notes when you get back to your districts. This is a strategic plan. This is goal. This is, when are you having those meetings with the team? How often are you having the meetings with the team? Who is going to be, like the first one, it's the parent trainings. We found parent trainings are awesome. We have them 4 times. I think we have 4 or 5 of them. Who's going to be planning them? What are you going to be doing them over? How often are you going to be doing them? We're going to do bi-monthly meetings. And on ours, I took out all the names, but there were the names of the people who are responsible, so that you then have accountability, and everybody's is that buy-in again. I'm going to do this. Oh, I see that, do you need help doing this? I got emails saying, hey, there's not a sign that points an arrow to get into the right door. Just that kind of like buy-in.
And we utilized the teachers.
Yes.
And they were excited about presenting to the parents. And the parents were excited that, oh, that's my child's teacher up there. And, they know the children personally. So it was perfect. And they did it for free. And they felt absolutely fabulous about it. The ones that can make it, when they can make it, we had them doing it. And we tried to make it as easy as possible on them.
Did you guys let the teachers choose what they were going to do, or did you have something?
It was a meeting, so
Yeah.
to start this off, because this was a new concept, we hadn't done it, we had a meeting and brainstormed things that we felt that parents, and then we did a survey. So we had our ideas, but we did a survey, a parent survey. Because we're running short on time. But strategic plan, you guys have got a copy of it. It just really breaks down everything that you can possibly think of and who would be responsible for it, and a time frame for it. and then what artifacts are going to prove that you have been doing this. Transition services, this is from the DCDT website. I found it a couple of years ago when I was first doing this 3 years ago, and I haven't found it since. I'm sure it's somewhere there, but I couldn't relocate it. But it mirrors what our expectations are for our kiddos. So our ultimate goals: highest level of self-sufficiency, continued learning, quality of life, school, the last one, I probably should be the first one, student, caregiver, school, agency, partnerships, mutually beneficial. Okay, so how do we get started? This is a lot of stuff. This is a systemic change, and systemic changes do not come easy. There are so many variables. There's buy-in, there's time, there's money, there's, the list goes on, materials, etc. So we kind of broke it down to what we felt were the most important things and which are manageable for a district just getting started with this, including ourselves. So consistent collaboration with our colleagues, so teachers being able to meet even on a monthly basis, because a lot of times, all the time in our district, the teachers are flying solo on their campuses. Like the life skills teacher, there's one life skills teacher on a campus, or there's one SLC teacher on a campus. There may be a couple of resource teachers, or 2 or 3, or however many resource teachers, but there's usually one specialized instruction
Or two
for a program. But their programs may be totally different too, though.
Yeah.
So having a meeting time for those guys and continuing their professional development, and then conducting the school activities to home. So that's the parent trainings.
Our website will show you later, but the website has been such an integral part of this because we do videotape the parent trainings, because there are so many parents that can't make it out to that night training because they have other kids, or their child's sick, or they're sick. There's so many factors. So we're videotaping the trainings so they were available on the website. And the videos of routines for children, parents can access that from home and watch it and get the training that they need from home.
So we sent out a survey, and then the continued in-home parent trainers. So in order to bridge home to school, school to home, in-home parent trainers have also been trained on these strategies and techniques. And maybe the teacher goes with the in-home parent trainer initially to teach the parent in their home environments, in the student's home environments, some of these little routines. Something like just as easy as like picking your pajamas. Which pajamas do you want to wear every single night? And our kids will do it.
And parent training could be done just by the teacher, taking a quick video of what they're doing with the child in the classroom. We're going to show you an app later that a lot of teachers in our district use, and it's phenomenal. And they just take a quick little video to show what they're doing, and then the parents are like, oh, we can totally do
Videos
that.
are awesome if you have that capability. So we did a parent survey asking what were the greatest areas of need, and they pretty much corresponded with what we had been brainstorming, with the exception of the calendars and the schedules, because parents really didn't know that's what we're doing in school. I mean, they may have known, but they didn't connect it to home that they could do that. But a lot of it was legal, financial, what's going to happen after, the same things that everybody's concerned about, what's going to happen afterwards. We asked them what time they wanted was best for them, what day of the week was best for them. We asked about siblings. That's what the demographic information is. Just, do we have siblings? Do we have anything? We didn't ask any. We asked the age of the kiddos and the school that they went to. So it was all school-related demographics. Perceptions of what they thought their child could do, what they thought their child did in the classroom, what their perceptions were. And then we took that data, met again, and determined what our trainings were going to be over. So they were a consistent, dedicated. You want to talk about this?
Yeah. So our trainings, we decided to have it in our early childhood school. It's a nice central location in our district. There's a huge cafeteria that they're very accommodating to us. They'll set it up. We had them in the evenings, and we figured it was very important for parents to have a consistent place, especially for their children. Their children know they're going to go there, and the parents will prime them before, and then they get there, and then when they go each time, the kids actually, a lot of them look forward to it because they get to go and play. because we have a huge motor lab that they go in, and we have the childcare there, and that was a huge piece because a lot of parents can't go unless their kids go with them. So, you get into that routine of we had originally once every few months, and we have other parent trainings too, once a month. But they go in the motor lab, they have a good time, and then they all leave together. So that consistency was important, the place being the same. Being in the early childhood schools, a lot of the kids have been through the early childhood school, so they're excited to get there and see their old school. And then we picked the topics that came up through the surveys, and then they were led by teachers, like we said, or experts. We had Millie Smith come once. She happened to be there for something else, so we were like, hey, can you come teach our parents? And she was very, very happy
She came
to do it.
specifically for that.
For that,
Yeah.
okay, that's right.
Giving opportunity again, just to.
Yeah, it was wonderful, and we have that on our website if you want to see Millie Smith in action. And then, because the videotaping was another big piece that we felt was very important. It's fun to see parents like light up because they'll say, oh, I missed that training. I can't believe my child was sick and I couldn't make it. And I'm like, it's on the website. And they're like, oh, okay, great. I'm going to go check that out when I get home. So hopefully they do. But it's there. And it's amazing what a relief that is to parents that they're still going to get that training.
Yep. And then also, you guys do a lot of we have legal representatives, and that's where it gets a little bit tricky because we can't, as a school district, a government agency, we can't suggest that they use a particular financial aid person or a legal aid person. So ideally, it's good to invite several people from different financial agencies to talk to about financial planning for their students and to talk to them about the legal ramifications of what happens as you get older, guardianship, what happens to you, if something happens to you, who's going to take care of your kid, all these things that need to be planned in advance, and our parents need to think about. So,
And we have some nonprofit organizations that we invite in to give parent trainings too, and that's part of what they do. So we found that really helpful.
yeah. Transition, Texas, we have the Texas Workforce and DARS, so they were really great about coming out. If you're in another state, I don't know, there's somebody, maybe Andrew, you can speak to this, there are other community agencies that you can get in contact with and ask them to come out and present. And I would think if there's research, because I do a lot of research and write about the research is that once the community agencies, the voc rehabs, feel like they're invited, because they don't really know what to do with the school sometimes, because they feel like they're kind of the outsider, and the schools are the ones that lead everything and create the goals, and they're just there maybe for a meeting, and especially for our kids with the lower incidence disabilities, the more impacted students, they're uncertain as to what to do, what their role is. And so if the school then invites them in at the earliest possible time, explains this whole team concept, then I've talked to, oh gosh, they're excited about it. They're like, yes, I can't make everyone because of course caseloads are huge, but I definitely want to be when I can, and I can do this, and I can come to the IEP meeting. You want me to come to IEP meeting in the elementary? Well, okay, yeah, but I maybe a little lower on their list, but definitely in middle school. So I have all my active learning kiddos. Their community agency representative is there, which I don't know about you guys, but was unheard of before. It was like the last few years of high school, maybe that 16th year, and then whatever. So, training topics were home to school, the calendar routines, which this is a calendar. We're going to pass this around too. This is things we showed parents that they can do at home. This goes on a wheelchair, and the student has calendar or schedule. They are interchangeable names. One of the researchers from Denmark started calling them calendars because, and he recently explained, because the language translation was not the same. It wasn't oranges to oranges. So this is on the wheelchair, and this student is a sensory motor learner, and so they're using an object calendar. So she knows that, oh, I'm going to be doing a ball stretch now, and so she's given the ball stretch, and it goes on her wheelchair, so she can be feeling that she's going to be doing stretching with balls. And then when it's finished, it goes into her finished pocket right here. And then she goes on to the next activity, which in this case is exploring things.
And this is a parent training that could be done at any level. If you use a visual schedule at school, have a parent training for parents and show them how their child uses the visual schedule at school and then how they can adapt that for home. We do visual schedules for parents all the time for the home environment, and it helps so much for just that morning routine or a brushing teeth routine, or I mean, it goes on. And what a great thing to share with families and show them how they can replicate what they're doing at school and use it at home.
I'm gonna pass this around so you guys can look at it, and I'll come back and end with you. And another thing that I don't know if people are familiar with, but these are calendar boxes. If your child has a visual impairment, your VIs can get these for free. American Printing House for the Blind. And they come in big, I think they come in groups of 10 or 20. And they usually have a connector, so you can do the calendar, and you want the same color, but you can do the schedule for our really sensory motor learners that's even a little bit too involved for them, that you would say, okay, now we're going to go play, and their object for play is here. They would access it and move on. So these are things that we share with our parents too, that we can have these at home. So have a toothbrush. Now you're going to brush your teeth, have them grab the toothbrush. So they are acknowledging they're having some control over their day and over their schedule. You're inviting them to participate. And that's a huge thing for our students, participation and communication, and parents to understand that.
And if you are able to do a website with your district, all our schedules and routines that we use a lot, so that we bridge a lot to home, it's on there. So the parents just click, print, or it's a Word document, they click, change it up for their own, for their own child, and then print it off and use it. So, those are all little things that you can have available for them at home to be able to bridge.
Okay, and so we're going to try, I might need your help again. We want to go to we want to show you our website, and we want to show you one of the routines that we did that parents can bridge, just because we don't want to talk.
Which one do you want to do first?
But you're going to have to go out and then to
The
go
website?
to the next slide. There we go, yeah. Can you put on that?
It doesn't like me to
It
do
doesn't like so.
I blame computer.
Okay. So are there any questions right now as far as what you're?
So this is what our website
Yeah.
looks like.
Do you want me to navigate to somewhere
Yeah,
special?
this is,
Yeah, I can go through it.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I think I can.
so this is our in-home parent training just from our Frisco website, and then the link is,
Oh, maybe I can't.
go to
How do I
that,
scroll
no, go to
down?
that, no, go to the triangle.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it comes up a little different. This isn't what it typically looks like. So here, we talked about how all of our group parent trainings are on there as
Scroll
videos.
down more.
It's that.
Oh,
I mean, we're
yeah.
not sure how to scroll down and see
Okay,
different.
so here's one that we did most recently, self-help, chores, and responsibilities. So you just click on it and you watch it.
But I think we're gonna need, because we went to Brandon's video.
Yes, and I'm going.
I could not do this, so I think you're amazing.
Okay, so when we started the Beyond the Classroom program, I actually added on, except I don't know.
Can you help with your?
It's okay.
Ah, there it is. Wow, how did that happen?
Oh, yeah, there.
Okay, so we started, I did a whole section just for Beyond the Classroom, so that, everything doesn't quite relate to the kids with more significant disabilities, so this way the parents
We
had
had
their
our
own
own
section to go
section.
to, so we
Yeah.
have.
And that was, part of my UNC stuff too, to create the website.
Yeah, it's in Mac, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll apologize for Mac.
Don't
On
don't
your
apologize
behalf.
for Mac. We're grateful for Mac right now.
Yes, oh, okay, that's
And
easy
so
enough.
Beyond the Classroom.
Good.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to Beyond the Clash. Oh,
Uh-oh.
nope, I'm gonna do it this way. Nope, there.
Yay!
And why did it come up Teen Squad?
I don't know, Andrea,
No.
maybe you're helping me.
So Teen Squad is a program we have for older high school students that are on the
There we go.
spectrum.
We want
That
video
making the
play.
book one?
Yeah.
There we go.
So this is making a book
Can we push play?
Sure.
that they can do at home. I don't know what our time is. Our time. Go.
Okay.
5 minutes, yeah.
So we won't play the whole thing.
Next bathroom, next computer. Now
So these are those calendar boxes that I was showing you. Is that Brandon?
Brandon, we are going to write a book about textures.
And these are the ones you got
Texture
doing it for.
Mm-hmm.
To put our title, textures,
And this is, he knows his routine.
on the book.
So this is not a first time for him to do this. It takes lots of repetition. Hand under hand, no hand over hand, please. Because he also came with one that was aversive to hand touching, so going under helps him, and some elbow support.
Open. Open it. Oh,
No, we need to just hold it. He needs to choose.
there you go. Oh, that arm. Ah, good. Open.
And when he gets excited, it gets more pronounced.
Brandon, choose which texture. Carpet or bubbles? Feel. Bubbles and carpet. Carpet. Okay.
So you can see he's making intentional choices, and he is participating in his book. And this is something that parents can do at home with their child, with anything, with cooking a meal, with brushing teeth. They can take a story and make the story into objects and read the story to their
Let's choose our
their
next
child.
texture. Do you want
See, now he's like getting into it.
or terry cloth? Which one?
And teaching our parents to understand the non-conventional communication of our students. That they are communicating with basically every move they make, every intentional move. You know, it's with even a finger or an eye gaze.
Page.
Does that just go through on this, like, is it cardstock or
Yeah,
whatever?
it's just, it's plastic. It came from, with Millie and American Training House, they have some products that are the sensory motor and the sand. But you can do cardstock. I had books that were just a thicker paper with Velcro. Works just as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
You chose Mylar.
Okay, so this is on our website. You guys have
Can you
the
put the
link.
link back up there so we can?
Mhm. Sure.
Or
Definitely.
take a picture of it?
Can we go back to the PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Yeah, please. Sorry.
Thank you. I'll buy you lunch.
Good.
There, that's it. And so we have resources for our parents of just how to, step-by-steps, the routines, all of everything that we can think of to put on the website that our parents might need or appreciate we do.
And keep adding to it. It's,
Yeah, we need to figure out how to archive things though. We haven't, we just keep sticking.
we have really good tech guys that we depend on for all
Yes.
this stuff, so.
They take good care of you.
Yes, and you have to be nice, really nice to them and it's all about relationships, right?
I babysit
Creating-
for my tech guy's kid.
Yeah, there you go. Great idea. So create the relationships with your tech people, create the relationships with the families, create the relationships with the teachers. It's all about relationships and getting everybody excited about how great this is for everyone.
Makes your
Because if you
job
don't have
easier
parent
to connect.
buy-in, your whole team will fall apart. I mean, because your related services, your school's ready to go, your agencies get excited because they know they've got something to do, and our students are always, willing and ready. And our parents are the really huge key. And you know what, we've had huge buy-in from this. We've had one parent who now wants to be she wants Frisco to hire her Brandon's mom to talk to other people, but she does it free of charge. She doesn't charge anything. But the parents start, like we were talking about earlier, networking with. And what we've seen in the past is that this particular population of students, the parents kind of isolate themselves.
Yes.
Because everything is geared to any child that is any bit higher, like life skills kiddos
And our in-home parent trainers, we were hired just for kids with autism, because
Yes.
it's on our autism supplement in Texas. So, but we quickly started expanding, but I always felt so guilty because I knew that these parents were not attending our group parent trainings because they weren't always applicable for what these families' needs were. So this, when Elaine approached me about this, I'm like, yes, this is a great way to get in touch with all these parents and get them coming to things and have things that are applicable to them.
Absolutely. Some other community ideas, and download this PowerPoint. It's on your little thing.
One thing, the link to the Parent Sanctuary and Lending Library, if you're interested in that, there's a tour of the Lending Library on there. It's a quick one I did, but it's like a year ago and it's expanded a lot more. It's in a conference room, by the way, that they weren't using. So it can be something so simple, but we're busting out of the seams now, which is a really good thing.
That's a good thing.
I want to center.
When we were at the expos, we both were like taking things. If the vendors wanted to
to
give
have
us
in there.
stuff, we were more than willing to take, and that's where it's going to end up.
Yep.
So just some community building ideas. We want to really encourage our parents to get the kids out into the community. We understand that there are wheelchairs and there are G-tubes and there's all this kind of stuff, but we need the students out. And we've got, like the YMCA now has hired a greeter who is a student not dissimilar from Brandon, to hand out towels and to greet people. And it just makes people stay.
Yep,
When-
I go to that Y, and when he hands me a towel, it makes my day. And everybody loves him, and everyone knows him. So we want them in the community to touch the lives of everyone and to open the eyes of everyone too. He's right there. You can't
miss
move
him.
past him. It's awesome. I love it.
So, and then home visits encourage engagement. Restaurants, movie theaters, we have several around the area that welcome special needs students. The student binder you have.
Quick thing, the
Oh, yeah.
coffee talk, we started doing that with our director of special ed last year, and it's expanding so much. The last one we had about 15 parents in there. We didn't have enough room for everybody. And I saw in another session where they talked about having informal meetings with people, with teachers or with directors. And they are always so productive. We get so many great ideas from those parents, and those parents feel so empowered and listened to. So if you can do anything like that, where parents come in informally to talk about their concerns or ideas that they have, that's a great thing. We're really happy with how that's been taking off.
So we're going to add what you mentioned, the checklist. I think that's a great timeline, milestone on those checklists.
And I believe our transition specialist has produced one, so I need to go get that. That's
Yeah.
great. I love it.
Just some professional developments for the teachers and for the related services, and we invite the community agencies too. This is something for them to come to is a little bit, it's not happening because of their schedule, but hopefully as this program, becomes more embedded, that they'll be able to attend some of these too, because they need to know what their kids' skills are when they're looking at post-secondary and placing them in work environments, or placing them in volunteer environments, or placing them in wherever besides the home environment that we want to get our kids out. Oh, and okay, one more. This is literally 20 seconds. I know that we're going to go a minute over. I don't know if there's somebody out there waiting to get in. But this is one of our teachers who's active learning. She was my assistant. And when I was doing this for the University of Northern Colorado, I wasn't quite sure about what everybody else felt, because I was a classroom teacher and I didn't know what transition did, and I didn't know what in-home parents did, and I had my perceptions of what they did, but
So
okay,
how do you
two-
see the active learning
if we can go to
teacher's role
222.
evolving to assist?
And so I interviewed them all, and all of us thought different things. The other person was doing something else that they weren't doing. It was not in their. It illustrates very And this is just her aha moment at the end of this.
To learn helplessness. It's just, it can be easier for the caregiver to just do it and not have any expectations. If the expectations were constant at home, at school, we could be so much further along.
That just gives me chills. Sorry, I just love that. But that to me is really the essence of everything. Thank you so much. I appreciate